Welcome to the O'Malley podcast show. What we will talk about, no one will know. So sit down and relax and learn some awesome facts. It's the Talk to O'Malley podcast show. With me. Yeah, welcome back to the Talk to O'Malley podcast. I'm here with Chris Grayston from The Attic in Southampton. If you've not been, it's a comedy club slash music studio slash entertainment venue with a nice bar and a nice owner.
Well, hopefully. And hopefully it's a cool place as well. That's always been the thing. We've tried to make it like a bit of a cool area, a bit sterile when I first took over. And so we're just trying to put loads of graffiti in, loads of musical instruments as light fittings and stuff. So hopefully it comes across as a cool space.
It is a cool space. And if you go in the toilet, I think it's still there, isn't it? Is it still there?
Just about hanging in there.
Yeah, there's a guitar over the back of the toilet, which does look cool, to be fair. So if you like peeing on a guitar, it's about the only opportunity you're gonna. We'll try not to.
Try not to, yeah. That's
Chris has to clean it.
Yeah, I know.
By hand, manually.
Toothbrush.
I'm definitely going to do it. So, yeah, I've welcomed Chris on because, like, as a lot of people know, I like the comedy scene. Not that I've been able to do any recently because I've been working very hard and trying to make some money and promote myself in a... It scares me, actually, doing comedy while I'm doing this job. Because if I told a really obtuse joke, is it going to land me in shit?
Well, could be. Depends how dark you go with it, doesn't it?
I know, and that worries me. And I've got a go-to dark humour, but then I think a lot of people do. So, I mean, obviously, you run The Attic now, but... So tell us a little bit about The Attic and what we can expect.
Well, what you can expect from The Attic? Well, hopefully we've got a lot of programming for comedy, for all tastes, really. There's all sorts of different comedians, as well as sort of stand-up club nights where you have maybe 4, 5 or more comedians in one night. We've got open mic comedy nights, a rodeo night, sort of roast battles, which is where comedians go head-to-head, sort of ripping each other apart. And you generally got the tour nights as well. So we're generally open about 3-4 times a week. Although summer does slow down with the Edinburgh Fringe, which takes over the comedy world in entirety almost. So August could be a bit quiet for us. But apart from that, we've got a full programme throughout the year.
And you went last year, didn't you? To the
I didn't go last year, but I went for the 2 years before, actually.
Yeah.
And crammed in. I think I worked out. I did about 40 shows in 4 or 5 days, something like that. But then a lot of the time I'm sort of maybe going to the back and, getting a bit of a feel for maybe a tour. If it's not quite my cup of tea, I at least kind of get a feel for what that comedian's about. But yeah, it's fantastic up there. I mean, I've also been to the Brighton Fringe and they're completely worlds apart, really. I mean, it blew my mind in Edinburgh because I was thinking I got the handle on this. There's loads of streets and there's literally everybody walking about is going from one comedy show to another, and you bump into the same people that said, what you seeing and what do you recommend? And then suddenly went up to some different area and there was another 40, 50 venues there, and I'm like, wow, this is massive. It's a huge where, all the comedians have been there. Some give it a rest now and then because it is expensive, and I don't know how some of them do it. I mean, there was a couple of comedians I know doing like 8-10 gigs a day. I don't know how they do it. Fair play to them.
Yeah, no, I don't think I could do. I think one takes it out of me every 3 to 4 months or so. I mean, I haven't done anything since July, but that's through work. But I mean, it's a. I've always been interested in the comedy side of things, and then thought, because like I think by nature, people are attracted to it, and they see on TV like the likes of Jimmy Carr, they see the likes of people coming up, and it's all big TV stuff, and then you look at a ticket and it's like 50, 60 quid or 30 to 60 quid to go and see a big comedian. And you used to have the likes of like jonglers ages ago where you still had to do a nice night out and it sort of puts you off. But then I've discovered sort of grassroots comedy. Went to a couple of local comedy nights in Portsmouth and thought, oh, this is good. It's attainable. And I thought, wow, this is how it is. And I'm guessing that's how it sort of started. Because, I mean, we had a conversation before we come on.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of how it all started, really, there was a little period where we were in lockdown and I was starting to realise the studio didn't work as a business. It had a couple of sort of previous business owners that had really struggled because it's a very difficult business to run music. It's not cheap. Teachers weren't paying, obviously, and well-earned And suddenly if singing lessons and music lessons are 40, 50 pounds an hour, it's quite a niche thing. Not every parent can afford that, especially if you've got a couple of kids doing it every week. It's probably the first thing that gets kicked into touch if times get a bit hard. So I was looking at that and I was thinking we need to do something. The venue upstairs had a dance studio, but really could only get maybe 50, 60 max. There was a strange kind of corridor down the whole length of the building, which was bizarre to me, and another corridor at the end. And so just thought, right, let's gut it. And there was a moment of epiphany where I was sat there thinking, what the hell have I done? And it was just in rubble and ruins. And I thought, what I've actually done? And I thought, well, I've done it now, haven't I? So that was the kind of birth of the venue, to be a sizable space. And then we tried a few things out, tried the music and the comedy. And initially had someone come in, Michael Vaughan, we talked about, helped do a comedy lineup. He brilliantly selected Mark Simmons first up, which to me was like, I don't know who these guys. And we did okay. We got 100 people in. And I thought, right. And the music side of it, if you ever dealt with bands, is very difficult. Bands don't always agree. They always split up. And it's a nightmare. You can have a good gig lined up and it can get cancelled very easily through one of the band members deciding they haven't done enough tickets or splitting up or breaking up or whatever. So I then thought, right, we need to look into comedy a bit more. As we know, Michael's got lots of different things going on. I thought, right, I'm going to have to learn comedy. And that's why I went to Edinburgh, and that's why I went to all different gigs everywhere. Portsmouth, I've been to some of the open mic gigs there, and really worked out, okay, what the bar was here and there. And okay, sometimes it can be quite subjective, but I generally think I've got a reasonable handle on what's funny, or at least funny for people, because I can see when people are laughing. It might not be always my cup of tea. And so I just submerged myself into it, and still learning lots now to what sells and what doesn't really. So that's a kind of quick birth of it, really.
Who came up with the name, The Attic?
Oh, it was members of staff, actually. I had a couple of girls working at the time. And as kind of generic as it seemed, yeah, we couldn't sort of angle a way out of it, really. I mean, it is an attic. I think historically the building used to be a theatre and a playhouse, a cinema at one point, so I imagine there wasn't a first floor. Strangely enough, and some comedians have pointed on it, there's an attic above the attic. But
is there?
Yeah, because there's just a little couple of attic doors, I suppose, and there's some storage up there, so it is quite big. But it's
they
quite
all tell the obligatory attic joke. I'm not going to tell it on here, especially in this day and age. I'm not going to say it on here, but there is the obligatory attic joke. But hey, that's by the by. So, have you ever thought about doing stand up yourself? Well, what's your background then?
Well, there's a couple of questions there. Try and unpick that one. Well, my background was I came to Southampton. I was always between Southampton and Portsmouth. I was living in Hook and lived in London for a little bit. But I came to uni at Southampton University, and about sort of after the first year, thought, okay, I've been lied to here. College tell you like, oh, you can do whatever university degree you want. And the reality is when you go to university, there is degrees and there's degrees. There's being a lawyer, there's becoming a doctor and all those things. I was doing sociology and social policy. I just thought, I'm bored. I'm doing 14 hours a week, and these guys doing law degrees are doing 40 plus. They're suddenly not going out because they know they need to cram in the work. I thought, this isn't leading anywhere. And at the same time, I got involved in a few promotions that were in university, and I thought, actually, this degree's getting in the way of me thinking I can do this. I can put an event on, and I gave it up and started putting events on, and ended up putting like raves on for about sort of 10. From about sort of 91, and we did a rave at Wembley.
I was going to do. You answered the question I was going to ask. Yeah. When was it? I was going to say it had to be the 90s,
yeah, it was first events we did was sort of 1990, and probably a good 10 years of it. I mean, towards the end it was getting a bit tough because the music changed a great deal, but culminated in doing a gig at Wembley, which we sold out. Would have probably done another one there, but the people at Wembley wanted to put the price per ticket up. Didn't really stack up commercially, but I just wanted to do it. I wanted to pack out Wembley, and that was kind of the point where I kind of got to my pinnacle with that side of things. And then started to put on some record labels that the DJs wanted me to bring some of their records out. And then I thought, they don't strike me as that musically talented. I might have a go at that. And so, I started sort of producing as well. I'm lucky enough to have a top 5 hit in Australia and all stuff. And
what's your top 5? I'm gonna have to.
Well, you could, mate.
Why didn't I do my? This is where I don't do my research, and I go. But then, to me, I like finding out these cool things because then I can expand on it and ask more questions.
Dare I say it? It's before the time of YouTube, and you have to dig quite hard these days. But strangely, it's quite interesting. I probably shouldn't say it, but sometimes I think, because I get some artists to come and then they go, oh yeah, I've got this. I've still got probably more YouTube views than you have. It's kind of, but I don't go there because that's nasty, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, no, I had a good time with it. It was short lived. It's always difficult to live in the moment with that, and I wish perhaps I could have experienced it a little bit more. But ultimately, I was empire building. Do you know what I mean? I wanted to see how far I could go with it. And
still haven't answered the question. What was your song called?
It was actually Groove Control. Did it with a DJ in Portsmouth, Scott Trill, and
Groove Control.
Yeah. And so it was signed up by Central Station in Australia, and we got an advance, and that was about all the money we got for it. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, I got top 5 in Australia. I mean, bearing in mind,
would I know it?
No chance.
Would I like it?
Doubt it. It's dance hit. It's got no vocals, so but and it's probably about 160 BPM, but
160,
something around that. Yeah,
that's bordering on happy hardcore style.
That's what it was. Yeah,
I love happy hardcore.
Yeah, that was what it was.
Do you know my first introduction to happy hardcore was when I'd had an accident in my car and the police had my car.
Yeah,
and then I got my car back with some CDs.
Yeah,
because you had CDs back then,
of course.
And one of them was a Hixie.
Yeah.
I think it was the first one, and I put it on, and I'm like, and I thought, oh my god, I love it. And I was 18, hadn't passed my driving test that long before, and I'm like listening to this song, and I'm going.
Maybe our paths crossed, you see, because I used to put all the events on. We had a record shop in Portsmouth, so I'd have Hixie, Ramos, Supreme, Vinyl Groover, all sort of coming in the shop and stuff like that. I was living in Portsmouth at the time. Again, the shop didn't make money, but it seemed a good front, and I don't know, gave it a go. Like the idea of
shop? Was that on Albert Road?
It was no, it wasn't on Albert Road. It was I think they built a tall bit of flats on it now. It was Arundel Way. I'm pretty sure it had a little sort of seedy little underpass that you could cut through. I think they built flats on it now. I've not been back, I'm not back properly there for a while.
One thing you'll learn about me is I sit on the outside and watch in for a very, very long time, and I've only been, this comes up in every single conversation I have, that I'm very tentative to get involved because I see the outcome and I'm like, it's either going to end in failure, which is, let's face it, 90% probability, or it's going to end in total fame. And then, am I ready for total fame? And it scares me that I would.
I think you got to just go for it, haven't you?
Well, this is what we said.
You end up dying not knowing, and so you might as well do it. However, I think sometimes when you're empire building, you have to sacrifice things. I think, and that's sometimes where you don't realise till a bit later on. I mean, you're so obsessed with trying to make things eke out every little bit you can. Yourself, you're in promoting and promoting yourself. I always used to say it's a bottomless pit. You can never stop promoting yourself, so you're trying to.
I always thought it was really cringe, but then by the same token I admired people who did it, and I was a bit like, how I didn't have the self-confidence to do it. And it's only like third, it always comes up, but like I've had to physically push myself into doing that because I had no option other than to make it work. Is that what put you into that situation?
But when you say you didn't have the confidence, what do you mean exactly?
Like genuinely didn't have the self-confidence or the self-belief.
To promote yourself?
To promote myself. Because I'd always worked for other people.
Okay.
And I got caught in the trap of being institutionalised and having a regular income.
I suppose what you're doing is self-promoting yourself, whereas in a way I was promoting something else. I was promoting a business, promoting a vehicle. So I could sit behind it in a way. I'm not promoting myself. Obviously those that were in the know kind of know, oh, that guy, you know what I mean, runs that.
It's a byproduct, right?
Yeah, so I'm not directly in that, you know what I mean? So anything maybe that you felt could go wrong would be a little bit of a front, you know what I mean? You'd have to sort it out, of course. Yeah. But it's not directly, you're the person that did this, you know what I mean?
It's like we're switched roles, where you was doing it when you were like 19, 20 and through there and building it to that point. Probably in its infancy when it was, whereas if you'd had social media back then, probably would have been a lot different, I imagine.
Yeah, I mean, social media is, because when I went on from that and I ended up doing record labels, I ended up sort of putting an act together and stuff like that. Then I went into property for like 2 or 3 years, and I thought this isn't me. I don't know. My veins weren't cut with the blue of property. Do you know what I mean? And I went back into putting a music competition on because I needed to find some singers. And so I ended up going on a couple of another little whirlwind of empire building and sort of putting a couple of national music competitions
were you the
on.
Simon Cowell of Southampton?
Exactly what it was. And you can look that up.
Did you get known as the Simon Cowell of Southampton?
It was on the front page of the Echo.
How high were your trousers back in...
not that high.
You don't wear them high no more, does he?
I don't know. Maybe he got a bum transplant or something.
I don't know what. I think he just matured and had a kid.
God knows.
And all of a sudden softened up and was nice.
I've still got him on the camp vibe, if I'll be honest.
Really? What do you mean by got him on the campfire?
I don't know. Just think he's that, you know.
Oh, on the campfire. Were you trying to?
No, I think he's gay.
Oh yeah, that's what I didn't. I was trying to work out what you meant by campfire, but no.
And yeah.
And what you think it's the front? I mean, I'm sorry, Simon. I'm not going to edit this out, but like, I don't know.
Possibly, I don't know. Who knows? I don't really know him. He's meant to be a really nice person, but in the same respect,
I've got lots of girlfriends, and I'm not gay, but then I get asked if I'm gay all the time, and then I end up being everyone's non-gay gay best friend. Is how I'm usually described. Because I'm in touch with my feminine side and not really a man's man. Although I still like fishing and I still like... But I feel much more at ease around women than I do around men.
That's interesting. I mean, I think you just got to do what you like doing, really, at the end of the day and try and work that out. Some people never work it out. I mean, you know, and still working it out. And even in this world, especially for the young people, they're really struggling with working out everything, you know, and I guess that must be tricky for him. I got a couple of young sons, and it's sometimes the questions are difficult, and you just got to say, well, you just got to do you. And
well, there's so much stuff around that you're overwhelmed with everything that's coming in.
Yeah,
and I don't think you can really.
I mean, you touched upon social media there. I mean, yeah, when we were putting the national music competition on, bear in mind we'd have 2 teams, we'd have 6 shows. You may have 20 acts, 20 bands in a show. You know, there's always one somewhere not happy with the result, not happy with what's happened. And you just felt all Monday the team had worked really hard, and then having to unpick and justify, because we know yourself, social media, you know, the one bad comment seems to knock out 100 good comments.
Oh, yeah, I know. And then some news feed will get a hold of that one bad comment, and away you go, and it's bad rap all the time. Yeah,
we had some ridiculous things. We took... I mean, you know, I'm just being honest. You can look up yourself. I forget exactly the organisation, but we would talk something like the misdescription. Whoever does with that, we got taken to a tribunal for that because Noddy Holder was on the front of our website.
All right.
Okay, and Noddy Holder was the judge at the grand final, and the page clearly says the judges. You click on that, and if you want to Noddy's page, it's like, you know, Noddy, judge the grand final, blah blah blah. Yeah. They expected him to be at the audition, and because he wasn't at the audition, had a formal complaint. How nuts is that? Do you know what I mean? And I just thought, I'm not defending that. That's just ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? But yeah, it was, got held, and we got basically said that was. But then I go to things like the cricket, the Rose Bowl, and at the time I remember thinking at the same time they had a picture of Sachin Tendulkar on the poster when India were playing England. Well, he didn't play. So what should I have then complained that I've come because Sachin was meant to be playing, and that was probably more less ridiculous than our one. But anyway, there's a lot of nonsense out there, and sometimes when you get to a certain size, business, you're firefighting so much, and you just want to run it, you just want to get on with it and enjoy it, and do it for the 95% of people that do enjoy it, not the
5%. Yeah, exactly.
Dumbasses that thought Noddy Holder was turning up at every audition.
I think that's the bit when you're like you lived your life when you were like younger, and now I think people go in phases, don't they? You're probably in the light of taking on this, we're gonna take it on the attic and gonna make it a success. But it's like I might be wrong, but like people are gonna move to Spain and buy a bar and retire and do their little bit.
Yeah,
is there an element of that?
I think it's an element that after COVID as well, we had this epiphany of looking at complete chaos at a room and rubble everywhere. Is just that actually I don't want to go going around the whole country and getting up at 5 o'clock and being in Birmingham, and then I get back at 2 and have to do the same thing next day. It'd be Wednesday before I got my mind back again because I was just spinning. And, you know, it's just nice. I mean, sometimes I like the comedy, the same as you. I'll go down there if I'm not doing anything, but I also like to go away. So it's made me sort of just appreciate that and just maybe, you know, certainly not retire and have a bar in Spain, but it's kind of on the similar lines, isn't it? It's kind of like, it's not anything
it's
to the pressure.
Home, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it's not the same pressure levels as it was. If something happens, I can deal with it that day and it's done that day. Whereas you'd get pressure, you know, you'd be firefighting the next day, and it just wouldn't go away. Do you know what I mean? You know, so yeah, it's a nice thing to do. And most comedians are nice. Most are nice. I mean, you know, this is the odd one, but generally I find they're pleasant, they're hospitable. There's been a couple that have been a bit like, you know, a bit sparky, but on the whole, the community is good. There's a few people that are a little bit, you know, negative, but I think on the whole, most of it is a supporting community. And if they're not, then, you know, tip your cap, say hello, and move on to someone who's going to be supportive, you know?
100%. I mean, like I said, I've always sort of stepped on the outside, and the only reason I can't remember who it was now who asked me to do comedy. It's like, Tom, you should be doing this. And it was that a free night, or I don't know, a cheap night, locals. It was from Bournemouth, Brummie.
Was it Joe Fortis?
Joe Fortis, yeah. He came up to me, because I've got a loud mouth and I'll always answer back. Yeah. And if someone picks on me, like, that's it. It's not like I'm an assassin, but I can be.
Yeah.
And he's like, why aren't you doing this? And it did get me thinking, because I've always sort of sat back and I sort of looked at them as like above. And now I feel like I'm... And then first I got asked by Marcus to do a gig. And after to go into an open mic, a singing one, and I sang a really rude song that a few people have heard in this business community at my podcast launch party.
They're still scarred, are they?
I don't think they're scarred. Ruth, you met Ruth, ain't you? She said, I think 80% of the people in the room were offended. And I went, nah, it's got 50-50 minimum, but...
But you talk about offended is a very interesting point when it comes to comedy, okay? Surely the root of being offended is if someone has the intention to want to offend someone. If they're saying something that's dark or rude or like, oh, you can't say that, surely if it's the intention is to make people laugh,
it's the lack of malice.
Surely that should be safe ground, right?
You'd think so, but then I think most people get, like, people worry. Like, I mean, I've worried more since I've been running this that people might suddenly see me telling a really disgusting joke or a sexual joke or something that's not derogatory or you know, offensive in that respect, but it's the bordering on disgusting.
But the people that complain are the people that don't really know. In education, is not all, but in large cases they are. They probably take some silly little clip in isolation and they go blah 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 blah. There's a lot of comedians we have that in isolation you go, oh my god, that's awful. But Steve Hughes is one of these guys, right? He is phenomenal in my opinion. He's an Australian guy. Look him up. And if you took something in isolation, you go, God, he's real hating on women here. Do you know what I mean? But actually, if you hang in and listen to the whole entirety of what he's saying, he'd literally say, and I can't either. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
And so if you'd have just taken that little clip out of it and him going like, oh, women in this, blah, 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 yeah, you might have come away thinking, God, this guy's a real bigot. But the actual reality is he's just being normal.
Well, it's in the thing Jimmy Carr says it best, or Ricky Gervais says it best. I think both of them say it. You know, it's in take offence. I'm not giving offence. I'm not deliberately going out giving offence with the mentality that I'm gonna really upset these people with what I'm about to say, because it's obvious. And if you laugh while you're doing it, I mean, I've told some pretty dark jokes about things that you probably shouldn't joke about, and then I've gone to some other place and said, there's like, you can't tell that joke here. And I'm thinking, most of the people who you think might be offended by it because it's of that nature aren't probably going to be offended. They're probably going to laugh along with it. It's like someone with a disability. Like most people would just laugh along with it.
Yeah.
And it's in my opinion, it's kind of the best relief from that, because it's all doom and gloom all the time, and people coming up to you and going, "Are you okay there? is everything
Well, it's a
okay?
good
Whereas
point.
most
It's a good
people
point
want
you
to
make.
laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Jimmy Carr, I saw him at the Portsmouth Guildhall, and I don't know if he primed him up and said, "Look, guys, are you okay?" I had no idea, but what he did on stage was like he addressed them. He addressed them all and goes, "Oh, you can't clap, can you? Because you've only got one arm." Like that, and that, all the crowd went like that. But the people laughing the loudest, I'm sure there may be one or two that weren't, but they were laughing. They were, the fact they're being noticed and not invisible. I think personally, that's my opinion. Again, someone behind me might think something different.
No,
and
I'm
if you
with
took
you.
it in isolation and cut it out, you probably think it was offensive. But it made their evening.
Exactly, and that's a risk you take when you do it. And I had this conversation with my mum the other day. I was like, it's the... my mum said, "Oh, I don't want you necessarily around my friends because you might make this joke." And I'm thinking, it's down to them, and I know I can read them well enough to know that they're going to take a joke, and if they are, they know you well enough to know that I'm not a prick, so I'm not going to deliberately upset them because I'm rude and an arsehole. I've looked at the whole situation and gone, I'll make a judgment call. If they were offended, they're not actually offended, they're just a bit shocked, I think. And I think that's what people get think confused with, is shock and offence.
You've got two things that come to mind there, haven't you? Not everybody has that ability to do it, so sometimes they are going to probably upset people, but hey, do you know what I mean? And then other times people are taking, and we talked about social media, taking things out of context and go, "Oh my God, he said
Totally
this,
out
he
of
said that."
context.
Blah, blah, blah. I mean, you know, we can address it. I feel most conversations should be open. We when we first started on 2-3 years ago, I had a lot of people that came into the venue and said, "Oh, get Katie Hopkins." You might not think she's funny. It was a comedy tour. She's probably more of a political...
Katie Hopkins did comedy, I didn't know that.
No, but she's probably more a political, commentator than she is comedy. But anyway, needless to say, I don't mind what people talk about. Do you know what I mean? If you shut it down, I think it's a dangerous place. And we got an awful lot of stick for that. And we got another guy booked in called Frank Sinatra, who's about to turn up again and does all songs taking the mick of Hitler. Well, you should have seen the comments about, "Oh my God, they booked a Hitler impersonator as well." And it's like, this guy, and I went to see him at Edinburgh, is just doing silly little belittling, you know what I mean, a former Nazi leader. You know, either turn up and find it funny or don't turn up. It's as simple as that.
One of my favourite comedians, it's musical comedy, right, is Bleep and the Gang. It begins with a K, or spelt with a K, and usually spelled with a C, but Bleep and the Gang, right? And he wrote a musical about, and then turned it into a film, about something that you shouldn't really talk about. It was like a fake kidnap case gone wrong. But it was from Shameless. But people will watch Shameless and they'll, like, not be affected. They'll just laugh at it. And the same people that were laughing, as soon as you make it real or make a song and joke about it, but actually the message was, okay, the title was a little bit
Risky.
designed to shock.
Okay.
Because it mentioned a name, but actually it wasn't about them. It was about showing that actually the parents in that situation were the bad guys, and he was painting the whole situation as the parenting is poor, but they take it, like you said, out of context and out of isolation. In isolation, but when you looked at it, it wasn't actually. The songs were very clever. You know, it was. I'm not suggesting that people are bad parents, but it was like, you know, do you want a viscount? And then they go orange or mint, but it's showing true life, and then how people are deluded. And to me, it wasn't the subject matter. Might have been the name of the victim, for example. I'm trying to be careful because this goes out on like LinkedIn, but if it was, but that was only the name. The story was focused around the parenting, which was so awful, and all the tricks and treats and everything they were trying to do, and ultimately it was for money. But actually, if you'd listened to the whole thing, you would have seen that.
Well, I mean, most of the complaints we get, I mean, we also had a few with Andrew Lawrence, again.
Who you invited me to come and see, and I loved it.
I mean, you know, there's some things I wouldn't say, but he's doing it for the humour, you know. Does he believe all of it? I don't know. That's something, his private life and his own opinion. But he's doing it because he's taking the politically out of the nonsense that's occurring. But again, all the complaints we're getting, I can't believe you're giving this guy a platform. Well, You know, they're not customers. They're not customers. They're not customers. I look them up. If they're a customer, I would reply to them. If they're not a customer, it's like, well, you don't come to anything anyway.
I know. Get a grip. I know.
And surely, you know, most people that come along, especially for tour shows, not necessarily a comedy club, and that might be a bit. Most comedians maybe go a bit safer with a comedy club because they know it's a general broad audience or whatever. But for a tour show, there's not many people that book a ticket for a tour show, which is maybe a little bit more expensive, without any idea what that comedian, you know what I mean, is like. Do you know what I mean? Generally, you would have a little look, or you'd have seen a social media clip online, or someone has said, oh, they're really good, and you go yourself and look. Do you know what I mean? So you know what you're coming in for. Not many people go blind on these things, unless they're me, because I want to find out what everyone's like. But, you know, generally most people wouldn't.
It's the, what I was hitting on before, that's the one about my mum, you know, like it's the, and I used, she's perfectly fine with it, and she sees my point, but it's the, taking offence on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
You can't take offence on something that's about me. That's crazy.
Go and check Steve Hughes out. He does a brilliant gag on taking offence. It's like, it's a whole scene, and he's actually at the Apollo at the time. It's quite an old clip, but watch that clip. That has got to be the funniest. Like, you know, he's just so smart. Do you know what I mean? The way he deals with it, and at the end of the day, taking offence. You know what you might find offending me and someone else. You can't have a that's offended, that's not offended, because it's so subjective to absolutely everybody.
I know.
You can't govern it.
I don't want to be high and mighty, but like I don't take offence to anything because I just think it's just an opinion, and unless someone's being blatantly rude and trying to offend me deliberately,
and then it goes back to the original point we made, the intention of, you know what I mean, and if it's just they're intending for people to laugh and go like that.
I know, but I think,
or if they're kind of, you know, and
I think people have just had bad experiences. Like if I'd gone, like I always say to people, "Oh, people say to me, you're quite coarse and quite rude," and I'm thinking, no, you'd know if I was being rude. No, you really would, because I'd be like, I'm going to be right in your face now and tell you.
Yeah, you're upset.
Yeah, exactly. But I try not to get upset over anything, because actually, who's losing?
Yeah.
It's only me that's going to lose at the end of the day. So have you ever considered doing the comedy yourself?
Not really, no.
Have they challenged you to do it?
Oh, there's constantly. I mean, there'd be certain comedy I think the easiest kind of comedy is when Jimmy Carr does it as well. There's a whole half set of just kind of putting jokes on the board and and crowd work and stuff like that. A little bit cheaty, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Because it's kind of pre-programmed. He doesn't even have to remember it. He just has to put the screen on and tell the joke.
I think the best joke I ever saw on there was, I can tell it because it's not too rude. What's the difference between a lentil and a chickpea?
No idea.
I wouldn't pay £100 to have a lentil on my face.
No idea.
But I can't help but walk around. Like when I'm with my missus or when I'm with, I'm like, I've got these lentils and these chickpeas. What's the difference? Because it's a continuous laugh that you're always going to get.
Yeah. So in answer to your question, it is no, and it's an interesting byproduct of that is you know, a lot of comedians get up there. They're generally pretty smart, the best ones. They're smart people, do you know what I mean? Because if you're going to be good at something, I had this conversation with, I don't know if it was Michael Ford. I said, I think the timing for a comedian almost needs to be tighter than a musician. Because a musician in a band can ebb and flow, jazz, blah, blah, blah. But with a comedian, if you just miss that a second, it's the difference between getting the audience at a moment or a lull to land or not. And I've seen plenty of really big comedians, still work in progress, tighten the whole ship up, and it's like, wow, that's the same jokes landed in the same order, but now your timing, you've and that's smart, right? That's smart to know. And sometimes they won't always do it, but when they're on form, they will land it. And I don't know how they do it. I don't know how.
Got me thinking back to my own gigs now, where I've just done it. And like I said, I do music, and it's generally I know what's going to offend, and I have a tight 10 or 15 minute set, and I know what I start with. Sometimes I'll switch it up, but there are times when I've literally like bombed, where I've messed up a song, and it's the most embarrassing bit, or you've like, and it's horrible, and then it really like sets you on a downward spiral for the whole 10 or
I
12
I
minutes.
could probably say what to do, but whether I could do it myself would be something different. Is sometimes you just got to embrace and go, I've effed up there. Do you know what I mean? And just laugh and go, I don't know what I'm doing. And do you know what? Most, especially the open mic nights we do, everyone will just, competitions, we do lots of comedy competitions, will just go on, go get that. And they encourage you to get back on the horse. And that's, I like that side. You shouldn't
definitely.
In theory, you should take yourself away from it going like, it's your embarrassment in your head. Actually, no one else is embarrassed. They want you to succeed. They want you to do well.
Of course they do, but then once it's gone, it's kind of gone. And you probably know, like, from, I don't know if you said it was lyricless, but like if you're in a song and all of a sudden it's gone, like, oh my God, it's remembered. Like I actually did Mike Vaughan's open mic last week, actually, like a singing one. And I really shocked. We had Amber Tremaine? Singer? Yeah. So we had her on like a little while ago, and I joined her singing group. Yeah. It's unfortunately stopped now. It's just gutting, but there's still going to be some workshops going on. But I've approached entertainment, I guess, late on in life. I'm 43, and I'm getting to a point where I'm late to it. You know, like I've started it when I was really young, and then I got into college, and I was like trying to be cool and fit in because I was a bit of a not an outcast, but like I wasn't cool when I was there, and then I got working, and then I had a family, and life gets in the way, so I never really got into it. But from talking to Amber about singing, like I would say generally for the last 20 years I would say I've been quite a good singer. I've got quite a nice voice, I can present it quite well, I can always put the feeling across quite well, but I feel so vulnerable. And she said to me, you do comedy, and it's like, that's more vulnerable. But I'm thinking to myself, I can't sing like you sing with such passion, and because I feel like it's always...
There is quite similar disciplines to both of them, actually. And then people go like, oh, how do you get confidence? You get confidence from doing it and repetition it, and doing it and doing it and doing it and doing it. And what you got... Yeah, the thing I used to say, because I used to do a lot of artist development, is like, do you think David Beckham was a good footballer after 5 games, 50 games, 500 games? Maybe 5,000 games, he was starting to be half decent. Yeah, you'll get people, and you'll see comedians as well, they're so in a rush, and singers more so. They do their first song, and they're so in a rush to get it out there and get it heard. And actually, when you go back a year or two and listen to it, you'll cringe. You'll cringe and go, oh, that wasn't that great.
I have listened to songs. I have listened to songs. Like I wrote a love song for my partner. I am quite a sensitive soul at heart. But I wrote a love song for my partner. I remember the first time I performed it, and it was really quick and really like, and I was not in a rush to sing it, but I hadn't sort of perfected it. I still don't think you'll ever perfect it, to be honest with you. And it was hard. And I was like, well, how do you I didn't feel like I have a ukulele as a like it's a it's like having a comfort blanket, which is what Amber said.
Yeah, I get you.
And like for me, it's that little barrier. And like, but I said to her, when I do comedy, I know that if anyone heckles, I can just tell them to fuck off, or like I can throw something back at them, because if they've got the balls to do that, it's kind of carte blanche, isn't it? Really, like, and they're doing it because they want to be offended, right?
I think you open it up. You're coming from a big disadvantage if you're in the audience with a guy or a girl with a mic in their hand. You're already at a complete distance because no one's really hearing what you're saying unless they're next to you. So you need to be pretty, need to be a pretty good heckle to stop a comedian in their tracks, I would have thought.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that there's so many comedians. They've done a year and they think, I've done this. I mean, someone when I first started doing the open mic nights were going, oh, you need to do it like this. Like, look, I do it the way I want to do it, and I'll tweak it if it isn't quite right. I'll work it out. Do you know what I mean? Oh, you can't have that many on there. You can't do this. Why can't you? Because I know from the experience with the singers, if you don't have enough people performing and then you have a couple drop out, you end up with 6 comedians. That's not much of a night, is it? If they're all doing 5 minutes each.
Yeah.
And we've seen that sometimes with the roast battles and things like that, especially when one's going against the other. If one's out, it knocks the other one out as well because he's prepared to challenge the other one. So, there's certain disciplines of promoting that I can take, into comedy and vice versa. But the one thing across the two is they do 10 gigs, they do 20 gigs, and they think, like, I want to be on pro night now. And it's like, wow, and we talked about a certain comedian before. You can do a brilliant 5, brilliant 10, and then suddenly 20. You're stretching your best material out over a long period, it's better to have a good 2 minutes than 5 minutes and 3 of it's a little bit, you know what I mean, all right.
I mean, like I said, most of mine's songs, but like I don't think I could. I mean, I've got better at just standing there, but then I tend to just go to the audience and get them involved.
But you know, and I know, if a comedian's good, and this is the same for a singer as well, because I'd be like, I'd be, you know, I used to judge it all the time, stuff like that. It could be like really quick. It could be like, wow, is that 5 minutes? Or it could be a bloody long time. That's the longest 5 minutes of my life if it's not good. And it's better to just, you know, things happen in reason. I mean, how do I know? What should I be getting other gigs? Blah, blah. You'll get approached to do other gigs. You know, if you're half decent, someone go like, oh, we've got a gig over in Portsmouth. It will happen naturally. You don't really need to, same as a singer, same as a comedian. Yes, to a certain extent you do, and just say, look, I'm over here. But you'll know when you're ready because people will approach you, and rather than like, yeah, it was all right, and go a bit quiet afterwards.
Marcus came up to me and went, do you want to do an opening like for us? Because he'd seen me sing My Wide Wide Vagina, like, which is a parody of Delilah, about a prostitute giving up her job as a whore. But that song came, as like the inspiration came when I was sat there singing that song with my mum, and I'm thinking, so before I give up my job as a whore.
You can see why your mum's a bit scared then.
Yeah, my mum is. But then my mum came to a gig I put on, and we had Andrew White headline, and then I had like Mike, and I had a couple of other people. And my mum sat there singing along with like 40 other people.
She's converted, wasn't she?
She was. I don't know whether converted. I went, my mum's singing along, but then. I think the self-deprecating stuff is what works the best, because if I can take the piss out of myself, then you're opening it up. But then I think,
well, I think what a lot of people don't realise is that comedy can be just so, you know, you talk about musical comedy and lots of people doing parodies and stuff like that. You've got impressions, you've got what you call the one-liners and doing the puns. You've got those that just tell stories, you know, just tell a whole, and then they'd like bring it all back round.
I've never tried it.
Like talking. Which bit? Oh,
the talking and telling stories bit. But weirdly, when I'm in and about, I can tell those stories, but would I remember to write it down?
Yeah.
That's a skill. Like Sean Collins.
I was going to mention Sean, yeah. I mean, Sean, I've seen Sean a lot of times, and he will probably have, I don't know, he'll probably tell us more than this, but it seems to have like a bank of about 10 go-to stories, and he'll just use 4 or 5 each time. So you've got to see him a lot of times, and he'll take him in different sequence. I don't know what's in his head to think what he's going to do what day. Do you know what I mean? But he'll do one about some Indian guy, and another one when he's in Canada. You know, you suddenly realise, oh yeah, I've got this one. But it's still interesting because maybe the third, fourth time you've seen him, there'll only be 1 or 2 that you've already heard before. But you go, oh, I like this one, and then you'll be engaged. He's very good at it. Yeah.
See, I think like you said to me earlier on, like once you've done the songs, like people go along. But I try and sing songs that people can sing along to, so because like we still sing, like everybody sings. My theory on it is that however many times you've heard Sweet Caroline, you're always going to sing along, right? Or do you stop singing along?
Oh, no, I'm not good with hearing the same songs over and over. I kind of switch off to them as it's like too much. I've heard this too much. Oh, you carry on.
Touching hands.
It's not going to happen.
Reaching out, touching me. Touching you. Come on, James. Sweet Caroline.
You're going to go. Do you know what? It's because it was going to go on for hours.
You felt obliged to, and you weren't. Yeah, but everybody does because they feel it's that obligation, isn't it?
It's a great drink song, isn't it? You know, you get that. I mean, I like cricket. So sometimes mid-afternoon, everyone's probably had a few before the tea, and then that comes out. It's great, but it's interesting how many different sort of, you know, types of comedy it is, and what people's expectations are. You know, we talked about coming on air about, you know, we get quite a few complaints. There's not enough female comedians on our bills. It's not for want of trying, especially when you have like, you know, like a club night. You need people that are going to bring people in, and a lot of the mid-range females, there just isn't that enough of them that bring in. We talked about Laura Lex and Zoe Lyons. Yeah, always trying to book them. We've had Laura, I guess 3 or 4 times. Never be
I've been there twice since she's been there.
Yeah, I think she's been about that time. Zoe Lyons never been under now. I think she's probably a bit too big for what we do. And there's some great female comedies out there, but it's very narrow band of that. They seem to stratosphere very big to higher heights because of the lack of maybe female comedians at that top end. And there's not really enough in the bottom end as well. I mean, we do, as you know, we do Hampshire Comedian of the Year, and less than 10% are female. And generally they're the ones just starting out. So they need to get a year or two under the belts to be able to compete a little bit with more of the established guys.
I feel like I should enter Hampshire Comedian of the Year next time.
Give it a go. Do you know what I mean?
I only get 5 minutes. That's like one song.
Yeah. Do a couple in there. Slam it in there.
Slam it in there. But I think that's how a lot of people have gone like Plastic Jesus. I think they won the South Coast one. I don't know if that still happens now, but they won that. And I mean, I think that's a good thing for your CV. You know, some comedians have got a whole list of done this and got this and that. It doesn't mean to say you're great, but it just looks like you want it a little bit. I mean, we've seen quite a lot of comedians that when I first started, 3 or 4 years ago, and going to all these open mic nights, it's amazing the amount of names that have drifted off and don't want to do it, or want to concentrate on their family. If you're gonna go for it and you want to be on the bills with some of these big names, you ask someone like Mark Simmons or already started stuff. You say how long they've been in comedy for. Mark Simmons, I'm pretty sure, has been going to Edinburgh for 10, 15 years, and now just starting to escalate to another level altogether. It is balls deep, and that's a big commitment in it, and you have to sacrifice a lot, because you're either working in a reasonable job to get a reasonable income, but then spending all of your personal time out and about. At 43, I ain't going to do that, and I don't want it enough.
I mean, we have a bit of an issue. Say, for example, we get a lot of London comedians want to come down, which is great, and we'd love to have them, and some of them are excellent. But we know this day and age, the train's 50, 60 quid. It's unreliable. If they come all the way down to Southampton, it kicks out 2 London gigs they could possibly do. So therefore, they're going to want £150, whatever. I shouldn't necessarily be saying what some of the comedians get. When unfortunately, no one's heard of them down here. Do you know what I mean? Even though they're really good. So it's real difficult to get a balance of a lineup of you want to get a headliner, you want someone that's like, I want to see him and blah, blah, blah. And if it's not their tour show, they're not promoting your gig. Do you know what I mean? If it is not that comedian's tour, which I get, so you're on your own, and you'll be amazed how much different tickets will sell for a tour night. You're going like, oh, we had that person didn't sell anything, and suddenly the tour nights sold out within 3 weeks. You're like, wow, because they're promoting it, and you'll be lucky to even get a social media post for them doing a club night. So it's a difficult one, and as I said, learning all the time which ones will bring 20, 30 people in and add to the sort of attendance, really.
So what's 2026 bringing for the attic? What's your intentions going forward?
Well, great question.
You are the number one, I would say the number one in the area, but it's a low bar. Right? I don't mean that horribly, but
the bar is not there. No, the bar is there, but it's all one-off stuff, which is damn so easy. As a promoter, when I used to do events, doing one-off stuff, one event once every 2 months, that's the only thing you're concentrating on. It's a different promotional game than doing every week in, week out.
There's no home of comedy. It's like people who are a comedy club and travel, naming our names.
I think, I mean, you do have regular nights, but you wouldn't call them comedy. I'm with rooms being Portsmouth. They have regular nights, but I mean, I look to go there, but you never get a lineup, so you don't know who you're going to see. I don't want to go and just see anyone. So I wouldn't say it was a comedy club. So you're looking, probably, Comedia, Bath and Brighton, either east and west, and then probably out to London you've got loads. So there isn't a lot around. What I would like, I suppose, is two prongs to your question, probably just going off at a tangent, is I'd like to people, especially the people that come to our comedy, to realise it's not just I've done comedy once this year or twice this year, to actually, some nights are really good and some nights, are good, maybe not as good. It's actually just getting the habit of just coming down, and you go to cinema maybe more regular than that, and we have some very affordable nights. Sometimes if we don't completely sell out, we might give our regular customers some tickets, often doing 2 for 1 and things like that. Pretty good date night, pretty good for any ages. If you notice, the age ranges from 20 all the way up to 80. Everyone just gets involved and find them, same thing's funny. And I think that's a nice atmosphere.
And you have a gay, and you have I almost came out as gay regular host, but it's a great regular host, don't you, in Jeff?
Yeah, did you say what is it?
almost said gay, but it didn't come out. And it's not what I meant. I
don't know. It may have just come out as gay. I don't know.
I know sometimes I've seen you do gay, but it's in the gold hot pants. It was hot.
Yeah. I mean, Jeff's very solid. We're definitely. One of the things you asked about was trying to get much more social media, and certainly for Jeff, because you see a lot of these clips and a lot of these Paul Smith and stuff like that. They're okay. Sometimes they're not that funny, and sometimes I've been in stitches, maybe because he's fallen down a cul-de-sac or a route hasn't gone. But those are the funny moments and how he deals with it. And the other aspect of what we look to do, especially where summer is a little bit. It's very seasonal comedy. It seems to be a very September to sort of March, April sort of thing, and the summer. Either all the comedians are preparing, doing what they call a work in progress, which is a kind of, practicing their tour event for Edinburgh. Is we've just tried to get a load of headline comedians down early for June and July. So paid a few pennies more than would to just get some great names down and fill out June and July, which was normally last year and the years before been relying on sort of maybe work in progress. And again, comedians aren't always that reliable. Do you know what I mean? In terms of club nights, they will be mercenary if they, their agent says, "I've got a gig over here for double the money. You don't even have to step outside London." They may take it. So you're then left there, and a lot of the ones go, "Oh, I've come to see him." Unfortunately, sometimes that is the nature of the game. I have tried to work out which comedians and agents tend to do that a little bit more than others nowadays. So that's been less, but it has happened. I mean, I've been away sometimes on Friday morning. It's like, oh, sorry, didn't we tell someone tell you he's not coming? And and it's not a 5-minute job to then try and get someone of an equal standing in hours of notice, and you feel like you're letting your clients down, your customers down, if you suddenly haven't got someone least equivalent. Now, lucky enough, normally we've been able to get someone a bit better because it's last minute and they go, "Oh yeah, I'll jump at it." But I don't think it's on, and that's one aspect of the comedy circuit that I think is a bit poor. If you said you're going to do it, you put your flag down, do it, but they don't. And I think that's mainly agent led, but also some of the comedians are candid enough to say, "Look, I've been offered double the money for just up the road. I can't not take it."
No.
But there should be a point where, once you're in the home run of like 3 weeks before the gig, it's like, no, I can't now.
I know, because it's impossible to book someone that.
And that also goes back to the point with female comedians. I've had a lot of them do that. And so therefore I wouldn't necessarily book a couple of names that have done that to me when they let me down, not just on the once, but twice. And then again, maybe down to their agent, but I just think it's poor. I just think it's poor to especially if you've been let down once before, to go like, "Oh, I can't do it again." And there doesn't seem to be any scruples in some of the personnel there. But anyway, that was a little bit of my gripe.
But to end on a high,
yes,
I think that if you haven't been down to the attic, it's in Totton. It's a little bit hidden away, and there's a free car park in the evening, and it is. I think the tickets are cheap. If you want to get a nice night out on comedy, it really is probably one of the better nights that you can find for the money, because you sit and have a laugh. Usually you get Geordie Jeff. He will
liven you
up. It's great. Some of the rodeo night I know is very good.
Yeah, we got one this coming up this weekend. We've got a club night coming up. They're great. They're great nights out. I mean, if you're struggling for things to do,
support grassroots comedy.
Yeah, and it's not going to cost you a lot to come down. Bar's reasonable, and the tickets are really cheap. Cheaper than cinema most of the time.
It is, and you get real life entertainment. You might not laugh at some of it, but you're guaranteed to laugh at some point. And you're usually home by 10:30, right? So it's all good.
Function next day.
Pop down. Thanks for watching. I'll put some tags on the bottom so you can follow the attic and see what gigs are coming up, and then we'll put some other bits in there as well. But thanks, Chris.
Well,
I really
thank you, Tom. Thank you.
And I'm going to look up your top 5 hit in Australia.
Right. Put your earplugs in.
No, I'm gonna properly listen, and then I'm gonna send it to you with the remix.
Ukulele remix.
Yeah, ukulele remix.
Good luck.
Do you know what I did? Do you know what song I sang the other day on the? I'll see if you can recognise it from the one thing before we end. So it was. Oh wait, see if I can remember. Hey, I've been thinking about you. Do you remember that by London Beat?
Yeah,
I was going to slow that down.
Yeah, why not?
Make it into a really pretty, nice love song.
Very nice.
Because it's actually quite a nice song.
Look forward to that.
I'm not going to sing any rude stuff. But anyway, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And see you for the next one. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Bye.